Welcome to the show. We hope you have a blast. Thanks for making time for the Dealer Talk podcast. Another business leader, here's a penny for your thoughts. This ain't a regular conversation, baby. This that Dealer Talk. Yeah, this that Dealer Talk.
We're live. Dude, I'm having a problem with these intros because I started doing lives like midway through the season, and before I used to pre-record and I had this intro that I'm accustomed to. So now when we go live, I just don't know how to start things. It's like, okay, here we are.
Yeah, it's an abrupt start now before you had that lead in. So
yeah, so at least I had those couple seconds to kind of like ease into it, and now it's just like we're live.
Exactly. Well, either way, happy to be here. So.
Yay, man! No, dude, thanks. This is awesome, man. This is gonna be a good conversation already. I can feel it. Dude, so welcome. We connected on Facebook, and we're like, hey man, let's do a session. I'm all for those types of episodes. I just love when people reach out. It's great.
Yeah, actually, I came across you. Actually, shout out to Christine Mitchell, the car lady.
Yeah.
She was on, and she's from my neighborhood. Actually, had worked at a store previously that I was at, or used her services, and so yeah, I've kind of caught on since then, and been an eager listener. So, like I said before, I love your intro. It's the best intro of all podcasts. Yeah.
Thank you. So, dude, I'm glad you're here. Let's kick it off. We do an intro. So, tell us about you.
A little about me. I guess entrepreneur. Started a automotive software company focused on helping dealers get sold cars ready, which was kind of a culmination of all my experience, which started early on when I was 10, working for my dad's used car dealership. And then all the way, up until he was a car dealer himself, new car dealer, and I was, everything from detailer to service manager. So,
right on.
Yeah.
So we have kind of a similar background. We were just talking here before we kind of kicked this off, and I started off as a loop tech tire technician, and then kind of went from there, went into the service side of things. Well, I actually was before I was. So it's kind of interesting. I've never really shared this full story. So I was an apprentice at a body shop first. Like the guy that sands things and takes out the garbage and all. And the guy that was the head mechanic or whatever. Name was Sako, a Greek guy. I'd never forget it. He was like, bro, like you should go work at a dealership, man. Like, like it's just the career path, because the place where we were in was just a tiny body shop. Yeah. He's like, bro, you should go to a dealership. Like you can have career path. You're young. You can just work your way up. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna check that out. So that's how it really got started for me. So
yeah. Actually, funny enough, my dad had a similar story kind of at the beginning there, where he worked at a car dealership helping he used to go down originally to listen to the cars when they're coming off the truck and they're PDIing them, and so those were the Cobra Jets and the big engine Fords, and so eventually he actually started working in the body shop there as well. Actually started sanding and stuff in the afternoons when maybe some of the body shop employees weren't at their best, and so it was more of a different time then. And so anyways, he moved into automotive financing on the bank side and worked there for 30 years. So I actually was exposed. I sat in the car going to do car audits where you're just checking the car VINs, making sure they're all there, and even just going in to meet some dealers. So it was his story and my story kind of blend together, just like yours.
No, it's funny, and I was just terrible at the body shop stuff, man. I was just not good at it. Like they make me sand something, and I just couldn't get it right. So it's a good thing that I left.
10,000 hours to master, and I didn't put that in either.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, man, you said something that kind of caught my ear. I want to maybe kick things off there because it's something that I'm dealing with right now with some of the stores that I work with. But you talked about the inventory situation, and I don't think there's been a lot of conversations about this, but it's an issue right now for obviously, getting cars is a challenge, but once you get the car, what do you do with it, with that inventory? Like, I have some stores that list their inventory right away on their website. Car's not really there yet, so that causes some issues. And then internally, more than anything, you show certain amount of vehicles displayed on your website, and how do you? What are dealers doing? I guess right now are they focusing on just listing everything because the more inventory they have, the better because of the current situation? And if you go that route, then what do you do internally to make sure that you are running things through the proper channels, and that you're accounting for your frontline units in relationship to what you have available to sell, because all those numbers play a huge role in your month, right?
And it's a
So
lot of moving parts as well. A lot of people, it's not just usually one central person. So yeah, in terms of the inventory, my brother at the Kia store that one of my father's, he's a general manager. What he's doing is holding back, one piece of, every model, just so that there's something on the lot for customers to see. But at this point, it's really big, an order game, order and wait. So there are solutions, we've looked at, what our website media provider, shout out to D2C Media up in Canada, fantastic partner. They've actually created software that will allow you to, preload the units that are incoming, so that it's on the website sooner. So most, depends on what they're loading though. So to your point, how do you manage the incoming versus unsold? And so what we're doing internally is preloading those units into our DMS. So usually we would load those in when they came off the truck and the invoice came. So the administrator would take the invoice, load it into our DMS system. Now what we're doing is, it's basically once it hits the order system, it's going into the DMS. And then that way you can use the comment box or whatever to say whether it's sold or not. So when the person goes to quote the vehicle. So what we're doing is we're kind of looking at the process as, what was the process before and why, and how can we kind of change it to work for us, and without really applying, a huge amount of new tools, because it all comes at cost, and this is the worst time to be adding cost when you have, maybe 8 cars out front or whatever it is.
Well, but so what is your recommendation right now? Do you think that we should, as soon as, because we're buying, like, just on the used car side, like, we're buying, we should be buying. That's my recommendation right now. Like, don't wait, like, get that inventory now. I know it's risky, but you don't want to be caught in the next couple of months with a shortage, right? So I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Ford just announced to their owners, Bronco owners, I believe, that pre-sold cars are actually just sitting in a parking lot waiting for chips, and it's going to be a few months. And TSMC, one of the major chip producers, they're actually, all the major chip producers, they're putting billions of dollars into the industry right now, but they're even saying that it's going to continue for 2022. So to your point, snatch it up right now, because I don't think this situation's really going away in the short term.
Right. So, I mean, you should be, if you're not buying right now, if you're being conservative, I think that's a mistake. But then if you are buying and you're doing it and you're streamlining your process, then you're probably going outside of your local market to buy, right? So that means a lot of simulcasts and doing, a lot of online auctions and things of that nature, which means you're going to have a lot of cars in flux from different places. So what do you do? Do you put those? Do you think we should start marketing those cars right away? Should we wait to have them ready? Do we? And are we looking at that internally? Do we know? Hey, these are the cars that I have frontline ready to sell right now, and are we making marketing adjustments so that we're putting the dollars on those cars and not just, like casting that wide net, like when things that we do with maybe search and Facebook marketing, for example.
Yeah, so I would look obviously at, how long does it actually take you to get a car ready, from when it hits your lot to being lot ready? Because if it's a considerable amount of time, you may want to hold off listing it right away. Maybe when it lands, that's when you list it. But at the same time, customers are buying cars, that are hitting the lot. They maybe not even cleaned, just because, that's such the inventory shortages out there. So,
but do you and so what about that? Like, let's say that you buy a bunch of cars right now. Don't you think that you're going to create some bottlenecks, right? Because everything's coming and they're at different times and everything's just kind of a little bit out of whack, so to speak.
yeah, definitely. And I'd say that's where the transformation and maybe the dealer. So actually, I've gone and created a software, and I created the software for my own kind of need, and then ultimately, when talking through other dealers, realized, hey, that's a gap in our whole process. And so that's where I think the huge transformation is kind of going to happen in the dealership industry is, what is the tech stack in a dealer? Before it was, the DMS, and even that was broken up into, a service side and a sales side, and they may not even talk all that well together. You've got, your marketing platform, you've got, other services kind of tacked on. So right now it's kind of, look at your tech stack. What, can we cut out? What can we streamline by, the tech industry has changed quite a bit in just even a couple of years. So, you almost have to look at it, 3 to 5 years and say, what is my tech stack? What's changed and what's available out there? There's a DMS, I believe, Techion, that's just beginning. It's a CIO from Tesla is launching it. It's kind of a a more collaborative approach where it's all integrated together. And so I would say it's dealer to dealer, but ultimately, what is your tech stack and how can you streamline that? And when you do reduce the number of softwares and things required, that's how you can really make the best of it, so that where cars are, where they are in the process, are they sold, that sort of thing.
Yeah. What about time? And I know we have these systems, right? These inventory management systems, but and I think I talked about this in the last episode, but why haven't we connected that to our website? Don't you think that it would make sense for us to manage that, at least the status of the vehicle, and then have some sort of portal in the back end where we know where that car is in the process if it's listed, right?
Yeah, so I think that speaks to actually, even the vendors of the software need to almost update themselves. So why has Facebook and all these marketing platforms done so well, and how are they all interconnected? It's APIs on the back end. From a software developer, I've actually gone to try and connect to a lot of these bigger vendors, and there's a huge barrier to entry. Usually it's multiple thousands of dollars to sign on, and then there's yearly fees, which ultimately just inflates the cost of the software, which kind of again, coming from a dealer perspective, when you start layering all these softwares on top of one another, all of a sudden your fixed costs are going up, and in a situation like now where inventory is short, you feel pinched. So
yeah, no, I agree. I think that, I mean, there's so much that we could tie into to our website when it comes to that. We could have the amount of views that the cars are getting. We can calculate our delisted averages straight from the website. We could essentially, if we're going to put cars on the site that are in the process of getting, I call it FL'd, right? So frontlined. Everything's housed there. So why don't we track that and we show, hey, where the car is, you know what I mean? In some sort of back end, the user never has to see it. Like the consumer never has to see it or even know that it even is a part of the website or even exists. But man, I think it would make it would be so efficient for us, because think about it, these management software systems, it's typically just data, right? If you want to see the photo, if you want to see that car, you got to click into this, and then it just doesn't display it as neatly as your website does, where you could just create this back-end place and just directly click from there to the cars that are listed on your site.
And so I would say there are some platforms out there now that almost are starting to do that. Again, just shout out to D2C Media. They have a platform that connects the inventory with the marketing side. So it actually bids dynamically on Google
Well,
AdWords based on your inventory.
that was going to be my next point, but go ahead, finish, and then I'll.
Yeah. So, and they integrate a lot of the process as they are a CRM as well. So you get a different view of the inventory, and so they pair that with another a DMS and one other service, and you pretty well have your full process covered. So yeah, sorry, I know you were going to jump there.
Yeah, no. So then, like, if you have that built out, then you can do VIN specific marketing, right? You can connect
Absolutely.
Google and you can connect Facebook to that specific car, and then we talk about in marketing, right? There's a point of diminishing return when you do search for these dynamic ads for search. It's just based on what you have available, and if you search and then it populates, and then if you have the car, then it populates. Okay, great.
Boom.
On Facebook, you have these carousel ads where you can load up all your inventory, but the reality is that not all cars are winners, right? And that's not based on. Sometimes it's not even based on the car. It's based on the market. It's based on all these different factors. So let's say that you're merchandising your car correctly, which is what everybody tells you. You're pricing it properly, which is another component to the game. But at what point does the marketing piece go into that specific car? And not to name vendors, but I think LotLinks is really the only platform that allows you to do that in an effective way. And so imagine having that technology tied to your website, and now you can also connect. Now you can also you can connect your Facebook, your Google to that specific car. And if a car is underperforming, right, then you can put marketing on that specific unit. It's kind of like, spotlighting or boosting that car, whatever you want to call it.
It gives a narrative behind the days on lot, especially if that car isn't moving. Why? Before it was a lot of this, that, let's try like you say, merchandising. Have we done that correctly? But now with those kind of built-in analytics from a lot links, that's where you get the broader picture. And so it's ultimately looking at what is your tech stack and eliminating as many platforms as possible to get that streamlined approach.
Yeah, man. I just think that, and I've said this in a couple episodes this season, but I really feel like the website game we need to step it up in that department, man. I feel like our technology is, we just have more stuff to offer. Nobody's really come up with, I don't know, man, with something that's truly unique, or I haven't seen anything. I mean, there's some great website providers out there, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like now it's just repetitive. It's more of the same. And
yeah, so on the new car side, some of that is actually driven even by the OEMs.
Sure.
They have their guidelines, and so you have to play within them, and even a short list of vendors. So yeah, that ultimately though, user engagement, especially in the COVID times, how do you get people buying more online? Because I think a couple episodes ago there was that discussion of how far down the road are we of digital buying. In Canada, I know it feels like we are quite a ways down the road. We're a pretty sleepy little town, our dealerships, but it's outside of a major city, and just through a streamlined online marketing approach and buying approach, we attract a considerable amount of buyers from the city just based on that.
Yeah, that's another interesting topic for me, man. Like, that's another one that I just feel like it's not. I don't know, man. Like, I've talked about it so much, and it's almost like I don't want to repeat myself for the umpteenth time. But dude, like, it's just I don't get it. We just gotta start having different conversations. That the whole digital retailing thing is just not it. That's not the answer. So I don't know. So let's talk about this year, because it's early enough. We can make some predictions, and hopefully I can come back later in the year and be like, see, we predicted this. And if it doesn't happen, then we'll never bring this up again.
Promise the predictions,
yeah, exactly. But what do you foresee? You think that 2022 is going to be a repeat of 21, or do you think that we're going to, I don't know, get punched in the mouth here real soon?
From a inventory perspective, I think it's going to remain pretty well the same. Chip shortages aren't going away. On the new side, used cars obviously will reflect that. In terms of the economy, I don't know. That's a gamble, but things seem to be opening up right now, so I think people are excited to get out. And if it's anything like last spring when we had this, times were good. So,
And you guys, you had in Canada, you guys went back to some sort of
yeah. So
potential shutdown, right?
In our province, we're just basically kind of reopening again after a couple months shutdown, and it's kind of been on and off. So yeah, we're coming into spring and opening up again. So if that's kind of what happened last year, so we saw quite a surge in both online and in-person buyers.
How was that part? So I read a statistic recently that said that, I think it was Google that published it. Don't quote me on the source because I don't remember. But it said that prior to COVID, online purchases was 1%. After COVID, online purchases had jumped to 10%. I don't feel like I've really, I don't know, just from the dealers that I've talked to, that's not the sense. So I don't know where these jumps are occurring.
Yeah, I don't know if I've bought any more online personally. I know that, again, being that outside of the city dealer, we get probably more digital action, and we did see an increase. But we also, our strategy going into COVID was, let's not turn down our marketing. People are going to be at home and bored shopping.
Yes.
So, steady ship all the way through, regardless of kind of what's happening with restrictions and that sort of thing. And that's, I think, ultimately paid off. Our Google
As a
ad
matter of
campaigns.
fact, I told the stores that I consult with, I was like, listen, you don't want to spend less, you want to spend more, because everybody's going to contract, man. Now is your time to own your market.
And that's what we did, and that we did do some increases. Once things started opening up again, and we had already grabbed a nice market share there. So kind of at that point, you're controlling it in your little PMA area. So
yeah,
I think we were basically controlling Auto Trader, competing with them in terms of market share within our little bubble.
Yeah, no, dude, what a great opportunity for a lot of folks out there. And every time there's these types of situations, there's two types of people: the ones that get scared and they're like, hey, let's pump the brakes, and then the ones that are like, no, full steam ahead. And we had the added bonus with COVID and everything that happened, that if you did that, if you bought a bunch of cars like in February, and you went full steam ahead with marketing, man, those are some, you benefited from that tremendously. So.
Yeah, I guess right now too, with us and COVID, unfortunately, it might make you lazy as well, because cars were almost selling themselves. Kind of, I think
right. I mean, a new car right now, if you're spending any marketing dollars on that, that's
yeah.
a shame.
And so, yeah, I think someone a couple episodes ago said, I feel bad for the salespeople that started, during this time, because they don't really learn how to sell a car properly, because it sells itself. So.
They're gonna, if things do normalize, whatever that means, they'll that's gonna be an interesting experience for sure. So, it's funny. We've talked a lot about, just in the industry as a whole, I see a lot of comments about just the impact on the retail side of things. But dude, this has been 2 years now. I mean, right? Because February of 19, and we're February 21 or 22, and no, February of 2020. And we're 22, so 2 years. The consumers' behaviors are different, man. Don't you think? Like, the way that they just live their life is different. And there needs to be an adjustment to accommodate for that, because it's not like a switch. They're not just going to be able to turn it off. They're going to have to we're going to have to adjust a little bit on certain things, because the customers are, there's going to be customers that are going to be forever afraid to be in public and go to crowded areas. There's going to be customers that are going to buy online and they're potentially going to think that that's the best experience ever, and that's the only way that they're going to buy a car. There's going to be, I don't know, there's certainly going to be some situations in 3 years when customers, try to get out of the cars that they bought during this time. So
And I think that speaks to kind of what you were saying before, where there's a lot of room for improvement on these softwares and services and platforms, to provide more, because ultimately now your customer segment, your customer base is now shopping in a lot of different channels, and you have to successfully kind of capture them all as a dealer to continue to get your share.
Yeah, no, for sure. I also feel, and I talked about this early on when this all was kind of full force, is that some of those differentiators that some dealers really took advantage of, just a couple of years ago, are no longer they're no longer different, because a lot of the industry has kind of adopted some of those, like, I don't know, picking people up for service and dropping them off, or taking a car to the customer for a test drive.
Now more than ever, businesses need more efficient sales. That's why thousands of dealerships trust Foureyes to help with things like automated inventory email updates and ensuring all of your leads get into the CRM. To try Foureyes for free, visit foureyes.io/dealertalk. That's foureyes.io/dealertalk.
So the cool thing is that I feel like there's going to be a lot of creativity in the industry, and hopefully we're going to see not hopefully, I'm pretty sure, man, that we're going to see a lot of cool things, a lot of cool ideas that we're generating during this time that are going to be impactful for the industry. I think within the next 5 years, just in that span of time, we're going to see some really cool innovation. I think creativity right now is just right. So,
and just talking about how we now have customers shopping in different channels, and one of those is completely online, and where is, I think, some of that innovation going to come from? It's on the EV side. You're starting to see some pretty EV startups happening, and now they have a customer base that is kind of looking for their product and willing to shop in that certain channel. So all things are aligning for, I think, a lot of innovation and creativity to come to market.
Yeah. I wonder if you have any predictions, or if you have any ideas of what do you think just talking about inventory management, what do you think the future of that's going to be? I know that there's some companies out there. I actually had one on the podcast that are trying to take that off the dealer's hands and trying to streamline that for the dealer. Auctions, I think Manheim, well, I know they do. They have a program where you can, buy the car and then goes through some sort of they recon it for you and everything, and then they just ship it to you once it's ready to go. Do you think we're going to see a lot more of these services, or companies that are going to be they're going to have that value proposition for dealers that, hey man, let me take this off your hands, or do you think that for the most part dealers are going to want to keep that internally?
Think dealers will probably want to keep most of that internal, just to allow for that streamline from when it arrives to getting it out the door, because the OEMs kind of already have the inventory to the dealer fairly streamlined.
Right.
Obviously there could be a service and maybe a business model on the dealer side that that would work, and I think that's a question of how's the dealer model going to evolve. Some of that's baked into legislature, so it's harder and slower to change. But yeah,
and well, not to mention the financial benefits, right, for the own stores to get those cars ready. But I just wonder if because of the current situation, and the stores that are buying, significant quantities, they're going to have some bottlenecks, man. They're going to have some issues. And so what do you do with that? In some cases, it might make sense for you to outsource that, and maybe that creates a different vertical within our industry. I don't know, but
we're seeing a consolidation of dealers within groups, especially up in here in Canada. I know it's been, I think, more of a thing in the U.S. for a little while, but I think dealer groups can certainly take advantage of a model like that, where things can be a little more streamlined among locations, where that's speaking to the bigger inventory pool as well. Which then goes back to the question of how do you streamline the inventory between all multiple dealerships so that you can talk about what's sold and what's ready and that sort of thing. So, but yeah, that's where I think maybe technology and auto groups collide to give some innovation.
Yeah, definitely interesting times, man. We'll see where this all leads us. What about Canada, man? How are things over there overall? Like, are you guys have you guys experienced the same kind of growth that we've seen here? Like, what's just the market? I mean, is it the demand supply situation similar, or?
Yeah, so I can speak on, I guess, our little dealerships. We've seen a spike in sales. We've seen a decrease in inventory on lot. One of our stores would normally sit with 150 cars, and it's sitting with 10 on lot right now. And with most things, we've gone to basically a sold order only system. So basically everything that's landing is going out the door right away. So we've kept our select pieces to sell the next one. There are other dealers and other manufacturers that when you drive by, they are certainly having a lot more inventory on lot, and I think they've just they've ramped up production and they're ordering. So
yeah. The other thing too that we got to start paying attention to are these prices, man, because we're starting to see a huge, like we're going in the opposite direction. Like I was reading, I think it was Automotive News. I want to say it was Automotive News. This article about the prices, the peak was 50% or over 50% or something like that during the pandemic. And I think either January or December was the first time that we saw a reduction in pricing. So,
it's a scary time to be buying. You don't want to buy high, sell low.
Yeah, dude, but I just feel like I know,
but you don't want to miss the opportunities as well.
My message, I'm sticking to my guns, man. Maybe I'm wrong, but if you're a decision maker and you listen to this, that's my recommendation is buy now. We'll see what the next couple of months brings, but because listen, if the reality is if there's no new cars, right, or if this trend continues, I mean, just think about it from this point. The demand is still going to be there. Like people are still going to want to buy cars, and that's going to dictate prices. Now, if all of a sudden, in March we get flooded with new cars, then yeah, I mean, you're in trouble. But I just don't think that's going to be the case.
The cars are sitting already, just waiting for chips, so I don't think they're going to be rushing to market anytime soon.
Yeah, I just don't think, dude. I've had this question. Somebody was talking about this the other day. I don't know if you have the answer, but maybe this is a good. Kind of a good debate to spark. But what's going to happen to those cars that were 20? Let's see, they started 2020, that were 2021 that never shipped. Like, is there a solution for that? What's happening to those units? They're going to come in as new units, or
they'll I guess probably come in new units. Probably incentivized by the manufacturer to with some good interest rates to move. If it even is sitting inventory, most of them are probably sold and waiting for a customer. And
that's true. Yeah.
And that at that point, it's what's the dealer doing for the customer to make them kind of warm and fuzzy about the situation. But with good communication and the situation is what it is. It should be hopefully amicable and out the door.
Yeah, I wonder if the levels are if the production levels, like there's different schools of thoughts on that. I had I had Mr. Sigler on for our last episode, which is out now. But I tend to agree with him. He's like, yeah, I mean, this is going to be, this is going to be kind of the new normal sort of a deal, because the manufacturers have kind of figured out that they can just make more producing less, sort of a situation. But I also feel like, there's going to be one manufacturer out there that might get greedy, and if one starts this thing, then it's just going to spark. I don't know. It's going to create this like snowball effect. Hopefully not, because I like this setup better. I just think it's just fair, man. Like, right. I just feel like things now are fair, except, even with I know that there's market adjustments and stuff, but even if you were, there's a lot of dealers that are just keeping their, they're just selling the car for its worth, for its value. I just feel like it just regulates things better. It just keeps things fair for the dealer and the consumer, So,
yeah, I think, the dealers, obviously they made their own decision whether they wanted to, maintain that price or not. And, ones that didn't, they might end up losing customers down the road when it comes to refinancing that vehicle, or, it's trading in, and obviously the value, maybe it's in a couple of years and the market's kind of gone back to normal. Dealers may lose a few customers there, but, yeah.
What is that going to look like, man? Like when you have a bunch of these deals come back? I mean, I don't know. Is it? I feel like it's going to be a big deal, but I don't know. Nobody's really.
Well,
I mean, we talk about it, but it's like we're like, we're worried about it later, sort of an attitude.
Well, if a car's worth 30 now and it's sold for 40, and you get a loan for 40, but then the market goes back down to normal, it's not only depreciating because the value's dropped, but
sure.
It's now used, and so maybe that loan's at 35, and they come in to see what a new car is, and it's only worth 25. So they're now underwater 10,000. So yeah, it's a scary time, certainly, and that's why I say, like, we made a conscious decision not to charge anything over.
Why did you guys? I mean, I'm interested in the dealers that don't, because.
So my, being outside the city, props to my brother. He just made the conscious decision. He wanted to he sell basically predominantly online. A lot of the people that come through the door the first time, they already actually have a deal. So he's the GM and he deals with every lead, and he basically gets the deal done and then passes it off to a salesperson to, basically get them to come in, and away we go. So he's, streamlined that process, and then the salesperson, handles the deal. His decision was, we had a discount, whatever before, we'll just reduce that, but ultimately we're never going to be charging, over what it should be, because we get a lot of our business through referrals. You sell the car today, and then it sells, 3 for you down the road. That's kind of our mentality, and it has been for the past, almost 10 years. So, why change now?
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it, and I think there's that's obviously a strategy for sure. I mean, geez, on the marketing side of things, like what a great message to go out there to the market with. But if you can't get that car, and you can only sell it to one person,
and so
right?
we've kept one of every model, and some trim lines so that we can show customers, and one of them is the Telluride, and it was 60,000, and someone came in, I'll give you that right now. And my brother said, like, no, if you want that one, it's 100,000, because that's what it's worth to me. It's going to sell that many cars for me. So if you're willing to pay that, then like I'm upfront about it, but like that's what I'll do. So like we would sell a car for more in that situation, but that's because awesome. Our business model is we need it to sell cars. So you want it now, you pay for it.
Right. No, I mean, and that's the, like, I get it. I understand like why it needed to be done. I mean, it's just supply and demand 101. I'm also interested in because I've had a couple of guests on that were like, no, we decided not to go that route. And I never really asked them directly why. Are we thinking about the long-term effect here? Is it because, just, I don't know, maybe maybe all the dealers in your market don't do it. And if you do it, like I don't know, that's probably not going to be good for business.
Yeah.
So,
so we're a no admin fee dealer. And ultimately that's almost just like another discount. So we're outside the city. It's basically, it's price driven. You sell based on an easy process. You make the customer go, wow, that was a great process, and I got a great price. The easy, almost Amazon model of one click buy. You talk to the GM, he gives you off to a salesperson, and ultimately we found a lot of customers like that, and they end up referring customers. And so for us to break that model, for a year or two, isn't worth it. So
yeah. No, I that makes sense. You're probably gonna benefit from that too later, in a couple of years. So,
yeah.
So you said something there that I want to explore a little bit. You basically were talking about the experience, right? And but don't you think that a great experience merits higher charge?
Yeah. It would depend, I guess, too, as well. Like we run a very slim, operation. So we've looked at our fixed cost. I guess that's my dad's banker background. So, how can we reduce our overhead to, make the most on what the MSRP or whatever is set at. And so, yeah, that kind of, I guess, speaks to models. So, some dealers may find that they're able to reduce their overhead by going with like a streamlined service that you were referring to before, where the car shows up ready to go.
Right.
So
right on.
yeah, so we've made, I guess, our premium price by reducing our fixed costs, and then obviously there's still accessories and the add-ons, and that's ultimately the car's cracker, and the other stuff is what you put on. That's where you get your taste.
Well,
so
I used to say this in the early episodes, like the experience, right, is what's the thought? So obviously the customer was going to, everybody wants to deliver this experience, and we talk about it in the car business a lot, but nobody delivers on it. And then one time, I think it was a guest on the show, or maybe after the show ended, they were like, "Hey man, what did you mean about the experience nobody delivers on it?" I'm like, well, think about it. If you truly do offer an experience that's different, that's unique, then you would be able to charge whatever you want. And not whatever you want, but you would be able to charge more, and you wouldn't be haggling price and doing none of those things, because, like, the customer is going to pay that gladly. And it's not even going to be, you don't even have to tell the customer that you're offering an experience. That's something that you feel. I can get a cup of coffee at Starbucks. I can get a cup of coffee at McDonald's. The experience is going to be different. And so I'm going to pay more for one than the other.
So, I guess, speaking to experience, someone that bought a car from us, I was speaking to after the fact, and he said that actually, the experience of talking to my brother, and that, like, walking in thinking this is too good to be true, I got this price, and and basically bought the car. He actually went into the finance office and just said, give me a warranty, give me a rust module, give me, everything, because he loved the process, and ultimately felt like he was getting value from us, and trusted the process, and ultimately purchased product from us. So we did really well on that deal, and he spoke so highly of us. Now he's referred his brother, so that same thing come in. So I don't know if it's where do you charge that premium? Do we discount heavily on our products? I don't know. I don't think we're overcharging, but we're getting what we feel is fair value for our process, and it seems to work. So
yeah, no, that's great. That's what I mean. Like, if you truly are delivering that, you don't even have to say it to your customers. Your customers are going to vote, by obviously giving you the business, but referrals, and it's going to become apparent that you're offering something that's a little bit unique, a little bit different.
And
So
I think that's where what is even a dealership doing for managing referrals? Is it just the old-fashioned form when somebody sends a referral in, or do you have a digital technology behind that implemented that works for both the internal process but also the customer-driven? Because finding a software that works in that unique dealership environment where there's multiple departments is sometimes hard. So yeah, it's kind of again back to my comments of what's your full tech stack, from selling the car and then the handoff from sales to service and then nurturing that service customer, and then how do you ultimately get them to refer others in, and how do you handle that?
yeah, no, I like that. I agree. That's another thing, man. That's another opportunity that hopefully somebody develops during these times, but a way to kind of connect all those platforms in some way, shape, or form, because it's daunting to walk every day, turn on the computer, and have to open 50 million different tabs and remember all these different passwords and look at everybody's individual screen or dashboard to see the performance of each element of that of the technology that you're using at your store.
Yeah, I guess I can speak from my little software company where we're looking at what can we do to help with insurance confirmation, for instance. How can we turn that customer into an insurance lead? So we can create a revenue stream for dealerships, because ultimately looking forward to, even on with EVs coming in, what's going to happen with fixed operations? We're not going to be having oil changes. The brakes are lasting a lot longer on an EV. So where can dealers get additional revenue? So that's where we're thinking, let's generate insurance leads. I know in the US, I think it might be a little more normal to have an insurance agent within a dealership, but it's fairly foreign in Canada. And then also even how can we we're using our delivery as the hub. So what can we kind of hang off of it? And so on the other end is once the vehicle's marked as delivered, can we automate the reaching out to the customer, maybe offering portal, so kind of an F&I reshop, another kick at the can for products, and then grab that referral, grab that Google review, because ultimately one of the most important things I guess for any dealer to do is get that Google review, because that is going to get you higher on the search results without even paying anything. It's that organic traffic. So yeah, that's I guess back to the tech stack. What can you do?
Yeah. Right on, dude. Hey, man, thank you so much for doing this. We're getting close to that time.
Well, thank you. It was awesome.
I wanted to give you some chance I wanted to give you some chance. I wanted to give you a chance to tell us about you, man. Your company. What do you do? How can dealers get in touch with you? Are you offering demos?
Yeah. So thanks. My company's Dealer by Design. We're a small startup, built by people in the industry. We've got great developers on staff, so we basically ultimately listen to the dealerships we're in and build and change. It's focused on helping sold vehicles get ready. So as soon as the deal is approved or the customer is paying cash and said let's get it ready, till when the handoff happens to them. So the coordination of all the departments, and streamlining all the little things. So if a customer calls in and says who's my lien holder for insurance, it's anyone can just quickly log in and see to what accessories needed to be ordered, what's back ordered, what are the tasks for each thing and what needs to be done. So yeah, it's based on that. And if you want to get in touch with me, it's eric@dealerbydesign.ca, or you can go to dealerbydesign.ca and check us out. We're offering free trials, free demos, so you get a 3-month trial, and then you can sign on at that point. And once we get our insurance model going, we're actually going to be switching to a freemium model. So you'll be able to use our basic service and then sign on for the premium if you want.
Awesome. And I'm going to put the links in the show notes. So if you want to just link up there, or if you've watched this on my YouTube channel, then go to the comments there, the video comments, and link up with Mr. Eric. Dude, thanks again for doing this. Really appreciate it. There is one question that I ask everybody that comes on the show, and that question is, where do you see the automotive industry headed in the next 5 years, and why?
So I think we're going to see huge, conversion to EV, we're already seeing it. That's going to change the dealer level, like I say, the fixed operations, going to have some major changes. More online presence. This is, I guess, more the Canadian market, I'm thinking. But yeah, that's, going green, and the EV network coming online, and dealers selling charging stations and different accessories, but ultimately doing what we do today.
Awesome, man. There it is. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Eric, thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having me.
That's all the time that we have for today. And as usual, we'll talk later.
We only host a well-respected. The vendor LexisNexis. We don't sell digital marketing. What you do? We inspect it with our DT vendor management.
Now more than ever, businesses need more efficient sales. That's why thousands of dealerships trust Foureyes to help with things like automated inventory email updates and ensuring all of your leads get into the CRM. To try Foureyes for free, visit foureyes.io/dealertalk. That's foureyes.io/dealertalk.